Children are supposed to come home from school.
Just confused and worried when I'm trying to find out where my baby's at.
To be protected from the evils of the world.
There are families who are in mourning right now, and the state of Texas is in mourning with them.
Today, a part of our kids' innocence was ripped away.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
We're following the latest developments out of Texas, where a community is mourning another deadly shooting at an elementary school.
A heartbroken nation stunned by this horror in Texas today.
Within the past 15 minutes, a state senator told the Associated Press 18 kids and now 3 adults are dead after a shooting at an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas. And so hard to believe this could happen again. The shooting in a small community just 2 days before school was letting out for summer. Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us for Denver 7 News at 6. I'm Ann Trujillo.
I'm Shannon Ogden. And the hearts of the nation are with that small community of Uvalde, Texas. We are awaiting remarks from President Biden. It's supposed to be 6:15 our time, and we'll bring them to you live right here on Denver 7.
And Uvalde is a small town in West Texas, about an hour and a half west of San Antonio, a little more than an hour east of the Mexico border. And police say 18-year-old Salvador Ramos opened fire at Robb Elementary School this afternoon. He was a student at the town's high school, and he has since died.
Now, police say he shot his grandmother before driving to that school, and she is one of those 3 adults we told you were dead tonight. And reaction from Colorado leaders has been coming throughout the evening. Governor Polis says he visited students at Menko Elementary School today in southwest Colorado, and he says he saw the joy on kids' faces as they prepared for their summer break. He says, quote, now 14 students and a teacher at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, had their joy ended forever from a cold-blooded attack, and their parents, friends, and families won't ever hold them in their arms again or be able to watch them grow.
Again, President Biden preparing to make remarks from the White House in about 15 minutes, and we will carry that live for you right here on Denver 7. You can find our full coverage, our continuing coverage, I should say, of this tragic shooting in Texas. You can find it on thedenverchannel.com.
Well, tonight we have a story of David versus Goliath. David being a woman who needed spinal surgery in 2014. Goliath, the hospital that charged her more than $200,000 to do it. Well, this week the Colorado Supreme Court ruled in the patient's favor. Denver 7's Miguel Lopez spoke to her about her fight against medical debt.
It was a car crash that landed Lisa French in the hospital in 2014.
And I was having some issues with my neck and my back.
She was sent to St. Anthony North in Westminster for a spinal fusion. She signed some papers, gave them her insurance card, and scheduled the surgery.
They went through and called my insurance company. They went through that, and they came back with, I would owe, I think it was $1,300. I was happy. I mean, that's reasonable to me.
After the surgery, though, the hospital told her it misread her insurance card. She was actually an out-of-network patient. Her new bill, $229,000.
I was scared. My husband was scared. You know, first thing we talked about was bankruptcy.
They decided to fight that hospital bill, saying it was unfair.
The hospitals should be there to help patients and help us understand what's going on.
This month, the Colorado Supreme Court ruled in her favor, writing that the paperwork she signed saying she'd pay for all hospital charges weren't clear about the charge master.
Charge master is basically the entire inventory of prices that hospitals charge. This is not something that individual consumers can access at all.
One justice even wrote charge masters have become, quote, increasingly arbitrary and over time have lost any direct connection to hospitals' actual costs.
So Lisa's case stems back to a surgery she got in 2014 that the Colorado Supreme Court just ruled on this month. But a lot has changed in the 8 years since that surgery. On the federal level, in 2020, Congress passed the No Surprises Act to add more patient protections around surprise billing. Colorado had passed one the year prior to that. And this year, state lawmakers passed a bill to allow for patients to request an external independent review of out-of-network charges.
But even those laws wouldn't have helped in her case.
This is a fundamental weakness of the U.S. healthcare system, that there's really no good way for individual patients in advance to get a reasonable estimate.
Lisa hopes this ruling can help set a precedent for others.
I wanted to make a change.
And she's ready to finally put all this behind her. Megan Lopez, Denver 7.
We reached out to Centura Health for a statement. We did not hear back yet. Now, Lisa now owes the hospital $767. That was the remainder of her original balance for the procedure.
A Southwest Colorado man is being charged for allegedly threatening to blow up the San Miguel Sheriff's Office and a restaurant. 39-year-old Brian Cornwell is from Norwood outside of Telluride. He's being charged by the U.S. Attorney's Office. And according to the arrest affidavit, Cornwell is a person of interest in relation to his girlfriend dying of a suspected fentanyl overdose. The report says after deputies reached out to him, he became agitated and began sending threatening texts to an investigator. And those threats included wanting to blow up a San Miguel Sheriff's office station and the restaurant where his girlfriend worked. Now, federal investigators say Cornwell previously worked as a Telluride ski patroller, so he has experience with avalanche control explosives. So they also learned Cornwell had a marijuana grow at his home, and they say certain fertilizers could be used to create explosives.
Body cam video from Boulder Police shows officers removing 2 young children from a suspected stolen car that was also at the center of a drug bust. Officers say they found 150 pills of an unknown drug, along with several grams of methamphetamine and cash. The children were in the back seat. No seatbelt, no car seats. A man and a woman were arrested on scene. This happened Saturday when it was snowing. The children were taken to the police station. They are now safe with a family member.
The stories of Native Americans are often untold, and today Governor Polis signed a bill into law directing History Colorado to document the abuse and deaths that occurred at federal Indian boarding schools in Colorado. Here's Denver 7's Micah Smith.
Dear sir, some time ago I sent a letter to my son, Pedro Cordova.
Stories and letters like this.
The letter was returned to me through the dead letter office marked deceased. Does that mean that my son is dead?
Uncover the horrors of federal Indian boarding schools. Horrors that Metropolitan State University of Denver History Department Chair Matthew Makeley has studied for years.
He says, in reply to your letter, I regret to state Pedro died at the school October 8th, 1919. And so this is a full 2.5 months after the child has died.
Makeley says this story has a sad ending, but many have no conclusion at all.
There are increasingly known cases of deaths that went undocumented. House Bill 221327 is working on a directive from the federal government, from Secretary of Interior Deb Haaland, who happens to be Native herself.
In response to Secretary Haaland's directive, History Colorado is creating an Indian boarding school research program. Colorado State archaeologist Holly Norton will lead it.
The real result has been generations of devastation.
There were 350 schools across the country. 5 were in Colorado, including 1 at Fort Lewis.
So the purpose of this bill is to provide a structure for History Colorado to create this research program so that we can get into both archival documents as well as hopefully address some field work.
This initiative, I believe, is going to turn up more documented evidence of deaths at the school.
Makeley says schools allowing these abuses operated from the late 1800s to the 1940s. And he hopes this research program finally sheds light on this dark part of American history. Reporting in Denver, Micah Smith, Denver 7.
And History Colorado is required to provide periodic updates to the Southern Ute Tribe, the Ute Mountain Ute Tribe, and the Colorado Commission on Indian Affairs. History Colorado will deliver a final report by June 30th of next year.
The State Board of Education has begun the process to possibly reorganize the Adams 14 school district. The board voted today to explore their options moving forward. So this decision comes after nearly a decade of low performance there. The first step in the process, notifying Adams 14 and surrounding districts to appoint members to a school organization planning committee. The first meeting would have to be within 30 days. The state board's order also removes accreditation for Adams 14 and approves making the new teacher project partial manager for the district. Now, the state says it will be a long process. They will take plenty of feedback from the community to see if the reorganization is the right way to go here. Our Nicole Brady sat down with Adams 14 Superintendent Carla Loria about next steps for the district, and we'll have that entire 30-minute conversation for you on thedenverchannel.com.
When you see Cherry Creek flowing through downtown Denver, know that it's being flushed out, meaning you will see levels like this through tomorrow. Now, this happens every year to allow proper operation of Cherry Creek Dam in Aurora. The flush is scheduled to run again tomorrow morning from 9 in the morning until 1 in the afternoon.
150 families across Denver's Montbello neighborhood are about to get the chance to become farmers. Today, the Montbello Organizing Committee was busy packing up garden kits, vegetable and fruit plants, and they'll be handed out to families tomorrow. The committee's CEO says this works a little differently than just giving out food.
Something that we've worked on with partners across the city is really envisioning a sustainable food system where people get to choose what they want to eat.
The plants will be given out tomorrow from 5 to 9 for the first Summer on the Hub event, and there will be other events in June and July.
Well, if you're tired of high temperatures in the 40s and the 50s on the Eastern Plains, I have great news coming up for you for the next couple of days. Back to those 70s and 80s, the full 7-day in just a bit.
Plus, we are awaiting remarks from President Biden on the elementary school shooting in Texas today. 18 kids and 3 adults were killed this afternoon, and we will have that press conference for you live right after this break.